So you want to buy a loop pedal, but there are hundreds of pedals on the market and you don't know which one to go for. Well, this video is for you, as I've trawled through thousands of online reviews of 73 looper pedals to come up with the answer, no matter your budget. Let's go. Today we're going to split the 73 loop pedals into 5 price points and then recommend the top 3 from each. I'm using reviews from 3 of the largest online music stores to score each of the pedals and use this information to help your purchase decision. I've got links in the description for all of the top 3 pedals. To be clear, I haven't tried each of these pedals myself, but if any of the pedal makers want to send me their pedals to review, then go ahead. Category 1. These are the pedals that are less than £50. They're a really good entry point to looping if you're interested in trying it out. I'm not sure I'd advocate putting these pedals under the rigour of touring and high levels of stage performance, but they should be good for beginners. Note that none of the big brands like Boss or Ditto have pedals in this space. You can draw your own conclusions from this, but it makes me feel like this is more like a hobbyist category. So, on to my top 3. In third place is the Harley Benton mini looper. This is a pretty small and simple looper with 10 minutes of recording time. You have to use a power adapter, there's no battery option, but this is probably about as simple as you can get. You've got a pedal to access the looping functions, the review say it's quite well made, and a volume knob, which some have claimed isn't that perfect. A few comments about the sound quality being a little worse than the original tone of the guitar, so probably not a pedal to add to a live setup. Scoring 4.1 average, it's pretty good. The second place is the Sonic Dub by Sonic. Lots of reviews on this pedal, scoring 4.3 on average. It's a very basic looper, but it does the job. Note you've got 3 banks, and that means you can start a new loop without deleting the first or second loop that you've recorded. However, this doesn't mean that it's 3 channels. You can only play 1 bank at once. It's got a USB connection, which means you can pull audio files onto the device or save loops from the device back to your computer, which is quite a nice feature, especially when songwriting. First place is the Lekato Triple looper. This is the highest scoring pedal in the category at 4.5, and it really is the best pedal at the price point in my opinion. It's got 18 minutes of recording time, split over 3 loop banks. Again, you can't play them at the same time, but it's also got a built-in guitar tuner. It's also got a USB connection, but the winning feature is the LED display. It's really helpful. It lights up so you can track where you are in the loop as you're playing, so a quick glance tells you where you are. So, 3 good options at a very low cost. Links in the description. Category 2. There are 23 pedals in this category, and the competition really starts to hot up as pedal makers start to add features that differentiate them from the competition. So my suggestions are going to be around basic looping functions, but if you do like some of the bells and whistles in this category, that may change your mind. I think if you invest in pedals in this price range, you can be more confident that they will hold up on stage or on tour. However, they still are fairly basic in terms of how they loop. Third place, Donna Circle Loop Pedal. This is quite a basic looper with only 1 track playable, although you can save up to 40 loops, which is pretty impressive. I would say this is a really good pedal for practice, especially if you want to play along with drums, as it comes with a number of pre-recorded drum sounds. Listening to these on YouTube reviews, they're not really good enough for live performance in my opinion. You'd be better off creating your own beats with the guitar and voice, but that's just me. Scoring an average of 4.5, this is a solid and popular pedal. Second place is the Lekato 9 loop pedal. This is basically very similar to the earlier Lekato model, which won the first category, but this has 9 banks which you can save down to, so still pretty useful pedal and scores well with customers, receiving 4.6 on average across 854 reviews, so people like this pedal. I prefer this to the Donna because it's simpler. I don't want the drum loops, and the LED lights look easier to follow on stage if you ask me. In first place is the Ditto Looper. Now we're into the first big hitter of loop pedals, the Ditto Looper. This is a really tried and tested and loved pedal by so many people, with an astonishing 4,558 reviews, which average at 4.6. It might seem a bit strange in a review to give a pedal with less functions the win in a category, but in my opinion the simplicity of this pedal is its joy, plus pretty fantastic audio quality by all accounts. You don't need a tuner, you don't need beats in my opinion. If you buy this pedal, you can be comforted in the fact that thousands of people have it and love it, and that is a pretty strong recommendation. I would like to see a better LED display to be honest, but there we go. If this video is bringing you value, hit that like button, and again feel free to use the links in the description when you're ready to buy. Category 3. We see a smaller number of pedals in this range, only 14, and this tells me that the players in this market are serious about the development of loop pedals. Also, the scores average in this category at 4.6 out of 5, so it's a really strong category. I still think at this level it's worth investing in the tried and tested pedals, those that are popular and that have stood the test of time, but actually when I look at this list, I don't have any pedals that I wouldn't consider. None None of the top 3 loopers have 2 channels, but you can use the 2 mono inputs and outputs to give you different sounds in the same loop, which you can then send to the mixing desk. So for example, lots of people use 1 channel for guitar and 1 for voice, and that's a really helpful setup, to be honest. Third place, the Electro Harmonix 720. Okay, up front, this only has relatively few reviews, only 164, which average at 4.5, but the looping features make it worth a place in my top 3 in my opinion. Some really intuitive functions on the pedal, such as reverse and half speed accessible from a button, and it can store up to 10 loops. It looks really well made, and the 2 buttons plus the expansion foot switch capability make this really easy to incorporate into your setup. In second place, the Ditto X2. Ditto pedals are loved, and this is an upgrade on the original Ditto. It still only has 1 track, but it has some really easy to use effects like reverse and half time. It has its own stop pedal, which is really helpful for live performance. So it is quite similar to the stereo 720, but you get that wealth of Ditto experience in the design and build, and with a score of 4.6, it's clearly well loved. Now in first place is the Boss RC1 or RC5. Such a tried and tested combination. The RC1 and the RC5 have been around the block, and they do the job. Simple in their execution, you can trust these to hit the ground running and work with the most arduous live situations. They can be powered by battery like most other Boss pedals, so that's quite a nice feature as well. Plus it also has the ability to add expansion foot switches, so it's also similar to the 720 there as well. These pedals have a whopping 4,094 reviews, and they average at 4.6, so that puts these pedals right into the top spot. So if you're sold on these Boss pedals, the main difference between the RC1 and the RC5 is the following. RC5 is more expensive, but it also has better audio quality, meaning you can load more loops on top of each other, and that's quite a great feature. You can have longer loops on this pedal, you can store the loops on the pedal, and it's also got drum loops as well. Category 4. If you're still with me, you're obviously a committed looper. This is a significant investment into looping, and I'm guessing that you've either spent time with loop pedals previously or just have lots of money. This is a category which introduces 2 channel loopers. With this level of expenditure, you're likely to be way more picky about the specifics of your pedal. You may have built levels of skills with a particular brand like Boss or Ditto, and want to continue with that band from a continuity perspective. At this price point, you really have a strong set of loop possibilities under your feet, similar to that which Ed Sheeran started out with. So really, the sky's the limit. So the top 3 pedals all have 2 channels, stereo input and output, MIDI functionality, and interesting effects like reverse or half speed. In third place, Ditto X4. Ditto loopers are really popular. This pedal has received a whopping 2,655 reviews and averages at 4.5 out of 5. This is the only pedal of the 3 that comes with a power supply, which is nice, but it only has 5 minutes of recording time per channel, which is quite short compared to the other 2. It also doesn't have an XLR mic input, which makes sense when you read their blurb about being for guitarists. For me, it comes third, as they've gone for simplicity. So if this is what you're after, go for it. But the other 2 pedal offer some fantastic features, and I think they're worth it. In second place, the Electro Harmonix 22,500. This is quite a complex pedal, but I think it earns its second billing down to the features. Unfortunately, it doesn't come with a power supply, but it includes an XLR input for mics. It has an expandable memory with a memory card, which is nice, and it also has an excellent function that allows you to choose between series or parallel recording. Parallel is like standard loopers. The 2 channels play at the same time. Series means that you can have a verse and then a chorus which has a different chord sequence or something, so the loops don't play together. It's quite a nice feature. Other than this, the user interface is beautiful and looks super intuitive. Note that the reviews are lower scored than the Ditto, but there are only relatively few reviews, so I'm guessing once this pedal has been around a little longer, we'll see those scores go up. And in first place, I've given the Boss RC500 the top billing. This scores 4.6 from about 1,000 reviews, and compared to the Ditto, it has a lot of the extra bells and whistles that the Electro Harmonix pedal has, like an XLR input, loads of recording time, but it also weirdly doesn't come with a power supply. However, it can take 4 AA batteries. Who knew? It's got beats you can play, not that I would use these in a gig, but it's a nice feature. It can also do serial and parallel loops, so you can either do the verse and chorus thing I described earlier, or you can have the loops play together, but in this pedal it does look like you have to spend quite a bit of time setting that up. I think this is the best looper in this category. However, I wouldn't be surprised if the Electro Harmonix pedal starts to grow in popularity and one day overtakes it. Category 5. If you're still with me, we've reached the top. This price point is quite wide, with pedals such as the 2 flagship Boss pedals and the Headrush looper board. Here Here you'll find pedals that have had decades of research and user feedback and quite simply offer you endless options. There are even crazy special pedals such as the Ortega Quantum Loop, which is actually a stomp pedal which doubles up as a looper. I don't think a review such as this can do justice to the range and complexity available, so I'm not going to do a top 3. If you want one of these, you're going to want to put a significant amount of research into the decision. However, I will choose my favourite. If money was no object, I would choose their Headrush looper board, clocking in at over £700, but packed to the rafters with amazing features. One day, Ollie, one day. So I hope you found this review of loop pedals useful, and if you want to hear from Forrest Gump about how to get started with a loop pedal, then watch this video here.